In May 2026, OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said he was delighted to be wrong about how quickly AI would eliminate entry-level white-collar jobs. For years, the world's most powerful tech executives warned us that artificial intelligence was coming for our jobs. But now, some of those same executives are quietly changing their story. So what happened? Were they wrong about AI, or did frightening us serve a purpose? I'm David, and today we'll uncover why tech executives are walking back their boldest predictions, what AI is actually doing to the job market, and the quieter threat most workers are not prepared for. For the last 3 years, some of the most powerful people in technology have delivered the same warning. Artificial intelligence is coming for your job. Not someday, soon. Customer service representatives would disappear. Junior programmers would become unnecessary. Lawyers, accountants, designers, analysts, and managers would watch software do in seconds what once took them hours. The message was repeated so often that it started to feel inevitable. Companies announced layoffs while promising to become AI first. Executives warned that employees who refused to use AI would be replaced by people who did. Investors poured enormous amounts of money into anything connected to artificial intelligence. Then something strange happened. The apocalypse did not arrive on schedule. Microsoft AI CEO Mustafa Suleyman clarified that when he predicted most white-collar work would soon be automated, he meant tasks, not entire jobs. And NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, whose company became one of the biggest winners of the AI boom, went even further. He called the narrative connecting AI to many recent layoffs too lazy. These are not AI skeptics. They are some of the people with the most to gain from its success. So why are they suddenly sounding less certain? Did the technology fail to deliver? Were the original predictions exaggerated? Or did the fear of replacement serve a purpose that the industry no longer needs? Because the real story may not be that AI is about to take everyone's job. It may be that the threat of AI already changed work long before the technology was capable of replacing most workers. When ChatGPT launched in late 2022, it did not look like a normal software update. It wrote essays, produced computer code, summarized documents, and answered questions in seconds. Tasks that once appeared to require education and experience could suddenly be performed by anyone who knew how to type a prompt. The demonstrations were irresistible. A chatbot could pass an exam, create a marketing plan, or build a simple application. Every week seemed to bring a new model and a new prediction about the end of work. For AI companies, this fear was not necessarily a problem. It was proof of importance. The bigger the promised disruption, the easier it became to justify massive investments, premium valuations, and unprecedented spending on chips and data centers. A tool that could help employees write emails faster was useful. A technology that could replace entire categories of labor could transform the global economy. That second story was far more valuable. Corporate leaders quickly adopted it. Becoming an AI-first company signaled efficiency and modernity. Investors rewarded businesses that promised to do more with fewer people. Employees were told to adapt quickly or risk becoming obsolete. The prediction became a management strategy. But predicting that a machine can perform part of a job is very different from proving that it can replace the person doing it. A demonstration does not need to handle an angry customer, accept legal responsibility, understand years of undocumented company history, or recognize when the instructions themselves are wrong. Real jobs are collections of tasks, relationships, decisions, and responsibilities. Automating one impressive task does not automatically eliminate the rest. That distinction was easy to ignore during the first wave of excitement. But as companies tried to move AI from demonstrations into daily operations, it became impossible to avoid. The technology industry had another problem. During the pandemic, tech companies hired aggressively. Demand for digital services surged, interest rates were low, and executives planned for years of rapid growth. When that growth slowed, many companies were left with expensive workforces and promises they could no longer meet. Layoffs followed. Then AI offered executives a much better explanation. Cutting jobs because a company hired too many people sounded like a management failure. Cutting jobs because artificial intelligence had made the company more efficient sounded like innovation. The result was a powerful new corporate script. Become leaner, flatten management, automate routine work, and redirect resources toward AI. Some job cuts were genuinely connected to automation. But critics inside the technology industry began questioning how often AI was being used as cover for decisions that would have happened anyway. In June 2026, Jensen Huang challenged the logic directly. If useful AI had only recently arrived, he asked, how could companies blame it for layoffs that began years earlier? Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale made a similar accusation, arguing that some CEOs were pretending layoffs came from AI productivity instead of admitting to overhiring or weak growth. Even Sam Altman has warned about companies AI washing layoffs. This does not mean AI has no effect on employment. It means the phrase AI-driven layoff can hide several very different stories. A company may have directly automated a role. It may expect future automation and cut early. It may freeze hiring while waiting to see what AI can do. Or it may simply use AI as a convincing explanation for ordinary cost-cutting. To the worker losing a paycheck, the distinction may not matter, but it matters enormously if we are trying to understand what the technology is actually doing. By 2026, researchers had years of workplace data to examine. The results were complicated.
There was still no clear evidence of a broad economy-wide collapse in white-collar employment caused by artificial intelligence. Research summarized by the International Labor Organization found that transformation was more likely than total replacement for most exposed occupations. A 2026 Boston Consulting Group model estimated that AI could reshape roughly half of U.S. jobs within 2 to 3 years, while complete job elimination would occur much more slowly. Research from MIT Sloan found that companies making heavy use of AI tended to become more productive and grow faster. In that study, greater AI use was associated with higher employment growth, not simply fewer workers. This is the part of the story that rarely fits into a dramatic headline. Technology can replace labor in one part of a business while creating demand somewhere else. A programmer using AI may complete a project faster, allowing the company to sell more projects. A small team may compete with a larger company. Lower costs may create products and markets that did not exist before. But the absence of a broad jobs apocalypse does not mean nothing is happening. The earliest damage may be concentrated among people with the least power, young workers trying to enter the market. Evidence reviewed by labor researchers has found weaker outcomes for younger workers in occupations with high AI exposure. Companies may not be firing experienced employees. Instead, they may be hiring fewer junior employees, leaving AI to perform the basic tasks that once trained the next generation.
This creates a quieter problem. If entry-level work disappears, where do future experts come from? AI may not replace the senior accountant, programmer, or analyst today, but if companies stop hiring beginners, they slowly dismantle the ladder that produces senior workers tomorrow. The revolution may arrive not as a dramatic firing, but as a job opening that is never posted. The original replacement story assumed that once AI could produce an answer, the human cost of producing that answer would disappear. In practice, the labor often moved somewhere less visible. Workers must provide context, check outputs, correct errors, protect confidential information, and take responsibility when something goes wrong. They must decide whether an answer that sounds convincing is actually true. This new work has become so common that some researchers and workers have started calling it bot sitting. One 2026 workplace study reported that white-collar employees spent an average of more than 6 hours per week managing AI systems, feeding them context, fixing mistakes, and debugging their output. Most workers in the survey said AI improved productivity, but far fewer reported major performance gains across their organizations. That gap helps explain why replacement has been slower than the demonstrations suggested. AI can draft a legal document. A lawyer still has to risk their reputation on it. AI can respond to a customer. A human still has to recognize when the customer is frightened, confused, or about to leave. AI can write code.
Someone still has to understand what the software should do, connect it to old systems, secure it, test it, and answer for the failure. And sometimes customers simply prefer dealing with another person. Sam Altman said this human preference was one reason his predictions changed. Work is not only an exchange of information. It is also trust, accountability, status, persuasion, and relationships. Those qualities are difficult to measure in a benchmark, but companies discover their value very quickly when they disappear. For years, AI leaders benefited from presenting the technology as unstoppable, but an unstoppable technology that threatens millions of livelihoods eventually creates enemies. Workers become less willing to cooperate. Customers become suspicious. Politicians face pressure to intervene. Communities resist the enormous data centers required to power the systems. Regulators begin asking who benefits and who pays. Public concern is no longer theoretical. Surveys have repeatedly found that many Americans expect AI to reduce the number of available jobs. For people already facing layoffs, weak hiring, and rising living costs, promises of future abundance offer little comfort. This creates a new problem for technology companies. They need employees to adopt AI tools, they need businesses to buy them, they need governments to approve infrastructure, and they need the public to believe that the future they are building will include ordinary people. Telling everyone that they are about to become unnecessary is not a sustainable sales strategy. So the language is changing. Replacement becomes augmentation. Job elimination becomes task automation.
Fewer workers becomes higher productivity. The shift does not necessarily mean the executives were lying before or are lying now. Predictions change as evidence changes. But incentives matter. When companies needed capital and attention, the most disruptive predictions helped. Now that they need trust, adoption, and political support, a more reassuring message is useful. The technology did not suddenly become harmless. The stories simply became expensive. The question, will AI replace your job, may have been misleading from the beginning. Jobs are rarely replaced all at once. They are redesigned. The more immediate future may be one where a company keeps 5 employees instead of hiring a 6th, where junior roles become harder to find, where one person is expected to produce the work of 3 because AI is available, where employees spend more time checking automated work while management counts the time supposedly saved. In that world, employment does not collapse overnight, but work becomes more intense, career ladders become narrower, and the gains from productivity flow mainly to the people who own the technology. This is why both extreme stories can be wrong. The AI industry may have exaggerated how quickly machines would replace human workers, but dismissing the risk entirely would be just as misleading. AI does not need to perform every part of your job to weaken your bargaining power. It only needs to convince your employer that fewer people might be enough.
And it does not need to cause a visible wave of layoffs to change a generation's career prospects. It can do that through slower hiring, attrition, outsourcing, and steadily rising expectations. The most important question is not whether AI can replace a human. It is who gets the value when a human becomes more productive. If workers produce twice as much, do they earn more, work fewer hours, or gain greater security? Or does the company simply expect twice as much forever? Tech CEOs are changing their story because reality turned out to be more complicated than the prediction. AI is powerful, but jobs are more than collections of predictable tasks. Companies are adopting the technology, but they are also discovering hidden costs, human dependencies, and limits. The promised wave of instant mass replacement has not arrived. At the same time, the fear of replacement has already done real work. It helped justify investment. It gave companies a language for layoffs and hiring freezes. It pressured employees to adopt unfinished tools. And it shifted the conversation from what technology should do for workers to what workers must do to survive technology. Now the industry needs a new message. It needs people to believe AI will make them better, not make them obsolete. Maybe that is true. New technologies have created more opportunities than their inventors could imagine. But whether AI becomes a tool of abundance or a machine for concentrating wealth will not be decided by the model alone.
It will be decided by companies, workers, governments, and who has the power to demand a share of what the technology creates. AI was supposed to replace you. Now its creators say the future may be more human than they expected. The question is whether they discovered the value of people or simply discovered that frightened people are harder to sell to. AI is not the only technology changing the workplace without eliminating it overnight. Watch The Entry-Level Job is Quietly Disappearing next to see how an entire generation can lose opportunity without appearing in the layoff numbers. Thanks for watching.